Now, if we look around nature, we cannot help but see God's power and the majesty. We look at Mount McKinley or Mount Everest, we see the rugged beauty of the Arizona desert, and then contrast it with the incredible beauty of the Grand Canyon. And we look in the sky and see so many stars, and then we look to the ground below and see the myriad of animals which have been created just to help support it. Our minds and our hearts can only be turned to His majesty, the majesty of God. Well, if you're joining us in reading through the 6-month reading plan through the book of Psalms, today's reading is Psalm 104, verses 1 through 13, and I encourage you to read that passage. Psalm 104, verses 5 through 9 says this: He's established the earth upon its foundations, so that it will not totter forever and ever. You covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters were standing above the mountains, and at your rebuke they fled, and the sound of your thunder they hurried away. And the mountains rose, and the valleys sank down to the place where you established for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass over, so they will not return to cover the earth. Now, I don't know if you've seen a picture of the change in the cities from the pollution before the coronavirus hit and after it hit. If you have, it can only give you pause. I'm not a tree hugger. I genuinely believe that we are stewards on the earth that God has given us. I genuinely believe that He has called us to utilize the resources that are found on and in the earth. But He has also called us to tend the earth and to care for the planet. It's interesting that if you know the fact that an Israelite could never permanently purchase somebody else's land in Israel. According to God, the land of Israel was His. And those people who had the deed to the land were only tenants. They could lease out the property for a certain period of time, but then it would have to go back to the original settler, and that obviously meant that the land went back to God as well. Now, Leviticus 25:23 says this: The land, moreover, shall not be sold permanently, for the land is mine, for you are but aliens and sojourners with me. An Israelite could never permanently sell the land. The land which had been given him by his ancestors when they first arrived in Israel, the land is God's. They were only caretakers, and we are only caretakers. And caretakers need to do precisely that. We're to take care of the land. And right now, we as Christians have to be at the forefront of this. Again, we don't need to be tree huggers. We need to be reasonable people. But how we care for the land, how we care for people, how we care for animals, say something about how we love God. If we treat that which He has given us, the land and our bodies, in a way that glorifies God, people will come to us because of our truth. But if we abuse our bodies, if we abuse the land, then we are shaking our fists at God and telling the rest of the world that our relationship with Him means nothing. Now it's time to repent and to begin to treat the land and ourselves as a treasure we are. And if you would like a PDF copy of this entire reading plan, please send an email to phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.